Hey everybody! It's good to see everybody back. This is Jason Burmis, and I am joined by a very, very special guest today. We have the number one, numero uno, second to none, number one Trump impersonator on the planet with us. It is Mr. Jackman, as I like to call him, of Jackman and Jackman, Eric Jackman. There's many a Jackman out there, but there's only one Eric and Mike Jackman. And they're big 2020 Tulsi supporters. They also have a show called Politics and Pints where they've not only interviewed Tulsi, but Andrew Yang and some other big names out there. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the debates. But the main reason I had you on is you were part of the latest Tulsi 2020 march. So why don't you just take it away and tell us how that went, what you thought of that event, and where you think Gabbard is going from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for that lovely introduction, Jason. And I'm no relation to Hugh Jackman, who flies on private jets with Bryan Singer. Okay, I can promise you, I've never been on a private jet with Bryan Singer. Okay. But yeah, Tulsi's doing great, man. I mean, I had no doubt that she was going to shine in the debates and see a huge spike in her mentions and see her popularity start to increase and visibility, and more people who've never heard of her start to understand who she is. But 2 days ago on July 4th, I had the honor of marching with Congresswoman Gabbard in a 4th of July parade in Amherst, New Hampshire, which is right in my neck of the woods, southwestern New Hampshire. And myself and probably 40 other Tulsi supporters all lined up in the sweltering heat. And we had some swag on. I had my Hawaiian lei on, and I was a bannerman like Game of Thrones for House Gabbard. And I was carrying the New Hampshire flag because I am a very proud supporter of my home state of New Hampshire, and I want everyone to know it. And yeah, we marched. Yep, there we are right there. And it's funny because we were actually right behind Senator Kirsten Gillibrand's in line. So I I watched Senator Gillibrand running around shaking people's hand, and I got it, as Trump would say, I got to tell you, Jason, she's a high energy individual for a lady in her 50s, so she's doing great. But I got to be honest, Tulsi's even more high energy. Okay, so I marched next to Tulsi for a good chunk of it, and then she just went off and met people in the sidelines. There was a lot of people there that wanted to meet her and take selfies, and are very interested and want to hear more about her. So I think they were really, really glad that Tulsi took the time out of her schedule to come march in a parade in small town New Hampshire. And it's those kind of things that help your campaign grow and get more momentum and bring more people on board, especially in our first in the nation state here of New Hampshire, which were the first primary in the state after the Iowa caucus. And things are looking really good. We're really excited, and we're really encouraged. And I'm really happy to see she's finally getting some momentum.
So before we talk about the momentum, I do want to talk about Kristen Gillibrand. Now, they were not on the same stage together. I'm pretty sure they were separate. That was night one was Tulsi, night two was Kristen Gillibrand. Now, what they have in common is they are really the only two that talked about the Iran war. Now, in the second debate, they didn't even bring up Iran. Okay, they waited till an hour and 45 minutes for somebody to answer another question about foreign policy for Iran even to be brought up. Now, they waited a long time in the first debate. Kristen Gillibrand took the opportunity for her final speech that everybody got to talk about no war with Iran. And I thought to myself, you know what? At least she's saying this. I don't like a lot of her policies. She's a senator here in New York. I don't trust her. Her father was a very Doug Rutnick, very prominent lawyer here, worked for Nexium, got his second cousin, her first cousin, out of Nexium, supposedly rescued her, but then married her. And that is Gillibrand's stepmother. When asked about Nexium recently, she's like, I don't know much about it. Oh, you don't know that your father worked for him? Oh, you don't know that your stepmother was rescued from your first cousin and that your father married your second cousin? You're unaware. Oh, okay. I must live in an imagination fucking land where that's humanly possible. It's not. She's a disingenuous politician just like anybody else. Now, Tulsi is not perfect, but with her limited time, she obviously dominated that first debate. She was the most searched, and she won every poll they tried to put out that was not establishment and swayed after the fact. If you looked at those morning polls, she dominated. Now, a lot of people will say, well, the next night, I am going to mispronounce her name, but the author, I think it was Miriam Williamson. Is that her name? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Marianne Williamson, aka the Crystal Lady.
Yes, the Crystal Lady. Now, for me, the next day when people said she was the most Googled, that wasn't that encouraging that she was a contender. I think, like many, I Googled her to see what the fuck she wrote. Because I had no idea. I didn't even know this woman was running for president. I thought she had a lisp. She sounded spacey. She sounded like pie in the sky. In America, we do things and we have dreams and we went to the moon. And I was like, what is this? So with her, I don't necessarily think that that woman stole the debate, which was just a complete establishment debate the second night. I think people were like, who is this person? The polls certainly didn't show that, she had won that debate. If I had to pick somebody who I felt won the second debate, whether or not they were right, which I don't believe they were, by the way. If you had more of an establishment, well-spoken politician up there other than Pete Bootlicker, I didn't see it. Buttigieg, or whatever you want to call it, literally had every establishment talking point, was thrown softballs, as being promoted in the media, as raising all this money. I don't think they want him top 5. I think they want him top 2 and possibly to be the Democratic candidate for president. What do you see going on after these first 2 initial debates, which was really one because, hey, it was the same party and it was back-to-back?
Right. Well, after Marianne Williamson, aka the Crystal Lady's performance, she went up 15 points among elves. They pulled elves from Middle Earth, so she's doing really well with them, which is encouraging. But it's funny. She's the most recent interview Mike and I did on Politics and Pints. We sat down with Marianne for 25 minutes, a half hour, and she's a very nice woman. She's very nice. She's very passionate, and she's very progressive. But any serious observers of politics know that whole thing is just not rooted in reality, and she's probably going to sell a lot more books. So I tip my hat to her, and I do hope she's in the next debates. I think she will be, just simply because she's something different up there and not your mainstream scripted politician. But yeah, I agree. Mayor Pete was definitely promoted and thrown a lot of softballs, and I can feel some establishment wins behind him. I also feel like Kamala Harris. I'm not a fan of hers at all, and I'm sure you agree with me on this, that she's a fucking wolf in sheep's clothing with her background and is prosecuting from California.
Well, let's stop it there. Not only, wolf in sheep's clothing, she's a wolf in wolf's clothing. For people that don't understand how she kickstarted her career, she had an affair with Willie Brown. It's out in the open. She is a pay-to-play bitch. All right? And I'm a bad guy. I'm a misogynist for saying that. Meanwhile, she can stand up there when they start invoking race, which I can't stand. You want to lose my vote? Please invoke race. You want me to come after you? Please invoke race. So they're sitting there and talking about these things. Nobody being genuine, by the way. And what does she do? I demand! As a woman of color, as the only woman, I demand to be heard. And then they gave it to her. They let her be heard. And why? Because these people are literally the lowest rung of not journalists, but establishment propagandists that like to promote this nonsense. And by the next day, she's selling T-shirts of a picture of her as a toddler in school with the bus behind her. She used that moment to go after Joey B. And let's be honest, Joey B. also as establishment as it gets. Definitely, you want to talk about racism. I know a lot of people like to call Trump a racist. How could Joe Biden be a racist? He served under Barack Obama. I'm not necessarily saying he's a racist, but when the establishment wanted racist policies passed and promoted and pushed, he was right there along with them back in the 80s and the 90s. Believe the hype. This guy is, I don't think they can sell you Biden. I think they tried real hard. I think he'll make it into the final 10, but I don't even know that he makes it into the final 5, Eric.
Yeah, Biden is, he's an old slipper. He's worn in, he's smelly, he's comfortable. People know who he is. They know about him. But yeah, Kamala Harris, you can see right through that horse shit. And playing the race card, man. And that's one of the reasons that Tulsi's doing so well with independents, moderate Republicans, libertarians, people who don't play the identity politics bullshit. Because Tulsi is not playing identity politics. And she definitely could if she wanted to. All the boxes they say that she checks, being a female, a combat veteran, a woman of color, a Hindu, all that. Yeah, that's all great stuff, and that's all part of who
Is
she
she a
is. But that's
Hindu?
not front and center of her campaign.
Is she a Hindu? I was unaware of that. Is that her? Is that what she identifies as religiously?
Yep, she's the first Hindu ever elected to Congress.
Wow, I 100%. And we've been critical of some of the things that Gabbard said, some of her associations, such as the CFR. I see it in the comments every single time. Guys, I know she's in the Council on Foreign Relations. I'm not wearing a Tulsi 2020 tattoo across my head. I will hold her to task. If you didn't watch my AMAs after... See, guys, some people, they don't take talking points from other people. They watch... Just like everyone else, they watch the entire 2 hours and then they take notes. Then they come on and they tell you about these things. They don't take derived talking points from not watching shit. So I watched it all, okay? And watching that, she dominated everybody. However, I did not like how she came out of the gates with, they attacked us, Al-Qaeda attacked us on 9/11, and that's why I joined. That kind of made my stomach churn a little bit. And her also going along the lines with, the immigration stuff, no challenges there. There are a lot of policies I would definitely disagree with her on. But she was the only one openly saying, we can't go to Iran. And I was kind of surprised that in that debate, Rachel Maddow actually asked somebody else why we were not able to get out of Afghanistan under not only Barack Obama, who promised it, but under Donald Trump. So is there somebody up there that can do it? And that was kind of how it was leveraged over to Tulsi. Were you surprised that Maddow threw out that question?
Which one, about Afghanistan?
Yes.
I mean, it was good to hear. I mean, it's nice to hear it if it's mentioned even for a minute in these debates with millions of Americans watching. But the debates really just focus on personality and fluff and nothing concrete. And it's hard to get anything in a word in edgewise because you got 10 people up there and you got De Blasio screaming like a fucking madman, interrupting everybody, which was so
70%!
crazy.
70%! I have a black wife. 70% tax. I have a black wife.
Well, Tulsi accomplished what she set out to do, and I know that a lot of people didn't know who she was before the debate, and a lot of people don't realize how that there's actually a Democrat who really is anti-war and one who fought in the stupid fucking war. So she has a real voice of credibility on this matter and on foreign policy, and yeah, I know people are going to comment about her CFR membership, and I don't like that either, man. And you know what? In conversations with Tulsi, we've asked her about it. I'm going to see her again tomorrow, and I can ask her again about it tomorrow. I mean, I know that worries some people, and it should worry people, but the reality is you're never going to get a perfect candidate. And like you said, I don't agree 100% with Tulsi Gabbard on things. Just in my view and in my opinion, and this is why I'm doing interviews like this to promote her, and why I'm telling all my friends who I've met for the last 15 years, whether you're in the Liberty crowd, whether you're in the Truth community, whether you're a progressive, libertarian, whatever you are, she is the best candidate on matters of war and peace, and the most credible, and the one speaking from a genuine perspective with a record of resisting war and a record of standing up to the fucking machine. So you're going to get into Congress, man. You're not going to be totally clean. You got to get in there and play ball with people. And part of her playing ball with the blob, what they call it in DC, the blob, is being a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, having a seat at the table with all the maniacs and the narcissists and the warmongers and the people who actually make decisions in Washington. So I remember a Republican, I forget which one it was, a really hardcore far-right Republican, when Tulsi first took office, he said just the sight of her made him want to go up and talk to her and ask who she was and hear her views on things and get to know her and see if they could work together. So she has a really disarming way about her, and that's not to be mistaken, for weakness, because she's a very, very tough person. But I really think that Donald Trump should be worried the most about Tulsi because, she does a lot of appearances on Fox News and other kind of more conservative media because she's got the credibility serving in the military. And, she wants to shut the war machine down and stop these wars. So, another thing I'm encouraging people to do is go on there and donate whatever you can give, $1, $5, $20. We have to keep this message in the debates in front of millions of people. That's kind of like the main point of this whole thing. We're going to disagree on X, Y, and Z issues, but Tulsi Gabbard is the only messenger of this anti-war platform and scaling down our dominance and imperial dominance around the world, because it just can't be sustained. So we're at about 95,000 individual contributions. We're going to keep that ball rolling and hit 130,000 individual contributions before the debates in September in order for her to qualify for a podium in the debates in September. She's going to be in the ones in Detroit at the end of this month, and then past that, nothing's guaranteed until you hit certain thresholds. So we're working like hell to do that, and I'm asking everybody, if you want a candidate who's against war, you want a candidate who wants to legalize marijuana, you want a candidate who cares about the Fourth Amendment, about the First Amendment, about privacy, Tulsi Gabbard's your candidate, and I really have no problem saying that, and I'll talk to anybody about it.
No, I 100% agree. I think there's, again, problems with Gabbard, but overall, it's just not even close. So let's look at like a Kamala Harris. She's the female Cory Booker. None of them are genuine. I thought that they dug themselves a huge grave, at least in the first debate, when it was a Spanish off. Like they thought, if I speak Spanish, obviously I'm going to get votes. That doesn't get Democratic votes. Most people look at you and are like, why are you pandering to a populace that more than likely isn't even going to be able to vote for you because they're not a citizen of the United States? And I'm not to say you should be excluding Mexican Americans or Spanish Americans or Puerto Rican Americans or whatever. I'm saying that this is still America. And the majority of people, they speak a little thing called English. So you invoking your third-rate, sixth-grade Spanish on stage, Mr. Booker, does you no favors at all.
Well,
no, go ahead.
Beto, the funny joke was when a great meme I saw, it showed Beto doing his Spanish thing, and it says, when you're at a Mexican restaurant and your dad orders in Spanish. But yeah, dude, it's just naked pandering. I mean, they were trying to, who could out-pander the next, and like you said earlier, man, people see right through that horse shit, and that's why people fucking hate politicians. Okay, that's why people don't vote. It's why people don't trust politicians. It's why a lot of people in our generation are not involved, because, yeah, majority of them are full of shit. They're panderers, and they're fake, and they're disingenuous, and they'll do whatever they can to grab votes. So I'm on board with Tulsi, because that's not who she is, man. What you see is what you get. She's the real deal. She connects with everyday people. She's only 38 years old. And I think it's a real powerful idea that it's going to take a veteran, someone who served in these stupid wars, to put an end to them and not allow any more to happen. Because I know it's not a qualification to have served in the military to be commander-in-chief, but I'd certainly feel a lot better about someone with their hand on the nukes who has seen people die, who has lost people in a war, as opposed to Trump, who avoided war.
Well, let me stop you, because I'll tell you what. You got somebody like Bootlicker, Pete Buttigieg, he's a veteran, and he's playing the veteran card much differently than Tulsi Gabbard, and he's making money, and he's being promoted. Now, there's somebody up there that did not get into the debates that said he was going to run for president. I'm not sure where his campaign is. He's named Sean Moulton. He's another Democratic, I believe he's a congressman, but he's another one of these veteran congressmen, but he's pro-New World Order. Actually gave a speech on it at I believe it was the Brookings Institute. I did a in-depth video on that one. And he, complete opposite perspective on the Middle East and its dominance there. I mean, he takes the complete opposite perspective of Tulsi in order to save the troops, in order to protect America. And when you look at Trump, for instance, on his what I want to call his piece du jour tour, right? He goes to the G20. He's talking to the poot. The press wants to get at him on that. He's talking to China. He's crossing boundaries with Tucker Carlson in the back over at North Korea, which I think is a great thing. All those things, they're positive things. However, when he does the big interview, and by the way, Sam Haslam, thank you so much for the super chat. Where's she nommed, would you vote for her? We'll talk about that in a second for Tulsi. I'd definitely vote for over Trump at this point, for sure. I couldn't tell you right now. I'd like to see them debate each other. Neither of them is perfect, by the way. So let's get back to this. I did a video on it, but Tucker Carlson literally hugging the nutsack of the president. So he says, Tucker, I don't want to be in these wars. And we haven't gotten any Trump out of you, so maybe we'll get some Trump out of you. Maybe you can manifest some Trump. But he says, I want out of these wars. And then he says that we've reduced troop levels in Afghanistan and Syria. I have seen zero evidence of that. And this is a man, believe it or not, guys, he lies. He says things that are not true. And then he doubled down on something that is just so abhorrently false, and I had called him out on weeks ago when he went on Fox News and started telling the truth about the military-industrial complex and Syria. He called Afghanistan the Harvard University of terrorism, and again linked it to 9/11, even though 17 of the 19 hijackers came in through Saudi Arabia, did not train at Afghanistan at all. At all.
Right.
Ever. Never happened. Imagination land. But now it's still the Harvard University of terrorism 18 years later almost. Okay, we're almost at that 18th anniversary. Remember, it was October of 2001, following the 9/11 attacks. We went in there with the Authorization of Military Force Act, which Pompeo is showing presentations on for a reason to go into Iran. After all, Al-Qaeda, totally involved in those limpet mine attacks, apparently, somehow, some way. And he gave him a huge pass. If it gets down to the level, and I don't know that Tulsi Gabbard, I don't think the establishment wants her to get the nomination. I think she's got a huge uphill battle. I think you're going to see, a bootlicker. It's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be bootlicker for sure, but someone like that. If we had a Tulsi versus Trump, Trump is very, very quick-witted. He has a huge base that buys into his bullshit. And again, we give him credit. We give him credit. Like I said, glad he's talking to Kim Jong-un. Glad he's making deals with China. Glad there's diplomacy with Putin. All that is good stuff. But you can't say you're getting us out of Afghanistan and Syria and show no numbers at all, and show no evidence at all, and then have no follow-up, and then say, will we ever get out of Afghanistan? Well, I don't know. It's the Harvard University of terrorism, and we're taking over the whole fucking Middle East, Tucker, if you haven't noticed, so probably not. So what's your view on that? I know you've seen these interviews. I know you watched the Tuck and the Trump. What are your thoughts?
Well, look, Tucker, okay? We're doing incredible things, and I'm sticking to my word. I'm keeping us out of stupid wars, okay? The American people voted for me because they're tired of stupid wars. They don't want it anymore. But the military-industrial complex is a very real thing, okay? It's strong. It's tough down here, okay? And they love war. They make a lot of money off it. We got a lot of great contracts with Saudi Arabia that we can't just dry up, okay? We can't forget about MBS. He's a great guy. There's no evidence that he killed anybody, all right? Jamal Khashoggi walked into the embassy. He tripped on a banana peel, and he caught his head on an errant bone saw that happened to be in the hallway, okay? But, Tucker Carlson, Trump's interview, Trump wasn't challenged at all by Tucker. He didn't, like he said, he didn't put anything on the line about bringing down numbers in Syria. What's the plan with Afghanistan? What the fuck is the end game there? What are we going to do there? And the sad reality is, Burmis, and I was kind of hoping that Trump would reverse this course. We're not going to leave any of those places when Trump's president. It's not going to happen. And you know what? He had a lot of good intentions about that, but he got in there, man, and realized how fucking entrenched and how powerful the blob is in the military-industrial complex, and the sway that Saudi Arabia and Israel have over your policy and what decisions you make in that part of the world. And he realized, fuck, I really am not I am not solely in charge of these
not even close
decisions.
Not solely in charge. How about not in charge? And let's talk about that at all. So let's talk about that for a minute. Now, another thing about this interview is that he was praised by the Tuckster and by the Trumpster. Trump likes to pat that back on the fact that he did not retaliate over the drone being shot down. Number one, that drone never gets shot down unless we want it to be shot down. It goes 60,000 feet in the air. Okay, let's understand something. Do you think Iran just suddenly got the technology 2 weeks into the height of escalation to shoot down a drone? No, they fucking didn't. Then we know that a Navy plane was put into the same airspace, into Iran's airspace, with sailors on it. We had 35 soldiers on those planes. Had Iran justifiably shot that down, they would have kicked it right off. Yet nobody is talking about the fact that not only did we successfully bait them with the drone, but we unsuccessfully baited them with human lives to try to kick off a war. No, only Mike Pence mentioned it in passing with Jake Tapper. Trump mentioned it in passing. Iran openly said, hey, we could have shot down a live ship with people. No one even, that should have been front page, top of the line news. Iran knocks down drone, chooses to spare lives. Like, where's that headline? It's not there, okay? Because, again, the war machine wanted them to shoot that down. So then Trump says it wasn't until the very end of these briefings that he was told at least 150 people would lose their lives. Now it's at least. Now it's at the end of these briefings. Okay, that's the first thing you're supposed to tell the president. What are the casualties? What is the cost of us killing people over our out-of-date robot? Okay, and that's another thing. You know, Trump acknowledged that the drone was not new and was, about to be decommissioned. He slyly slid that in there. So, in that respect, I almost think like he's a third-rate player in his own administration that they keep doubling and tripling down on and pushing him forward, edging him forward, until we get to a point where there's nowhere else for him to go but over the edge. Because putting the Abraham Lincoln there, bringing more and more warships into that region, escalating troops from 1,500 to another 1,000 to a plan of 10,000 in that Gulf region, okay, against a citizenry of 81 million people with their own military. There's a reason Tulsi Gabbard says that Iran would make Iraq look like a walk in the park, because it would, Eric.
Oh, it absolutely would. Iran is not this fucking just barren desert with tents and no technology. I mean, most of the Iranian people are like, Trump says, look, I'm from New York City. I know a lot of Iranian people. They're great people. I said, how many people will die if we do this? They told me 150. I said, I didn't like it. So I called it off. But you're absolutely right, Jason. There is a push that is just continuously going on from Netanyahu, from Pompeo, from Bolton, from PNAC people in the media, from the Kagans, the fucking Crystals, keep pushing Trump in this direction, calling into question his masculinity and manhood and strength if he's not ready to fucking bomb Iran into the Stone Age. And you're right, man. He is getting boxed into a point where he's not going to have anywhere to go but to start firing off missiles and sending more warships over there. So it's really scary, man. And yeah, Tulsi is right on the money about that. Look, having served over in Iraq, she knows how ugly these wars are. And if we got something going with Iran, this now is going to involve Russia. This is going to involve China. This is going to involve Saudi Arabia. It's going to be a fucking mess. And it's not going to be this clean, quick action where we could strike and then get in and get out. It's horrifying to think about. So I would like to see Trump, take a chapter out of his great book, The Art of the Deal. I'm a master negotiator. Put all the bullshit aside, dude. Publicly call out the leadership of Iran for a meeting. Set up a fucking meeting with them. Go over there and meet with them. Bring the other 5 countries who are part of the Iran nuclear deal together. Get in a room, order some McDonald's, and put a fucking deal together,
And you know what? You're not wrong. And I think that he is the guy to do that.
I do too.
The problem is that's not what the establishment wants. So Israel had kind of kept their mouth shut through this whole thing, whether it be the drone attacks where 4 different ships were hit, but there was no loss of life, no loss of oil, then the limpet mine attacks, then the drone. Israel all of a sudden isn't talking about Iran. Normally they're doing presentations on how they have a nuclear program, we need to go to war. They keep their mouths shut up until about this week. Then Netanyahu says, okay, we're upping our military. We're getting ready for U.S. military action, possibly in that region. At the same time, Ehud Barak, the former prime minister, and many other open Zionists are saying, you know what? Netanyahu has gone too far. He is pushing beyond a 2-state solution, and he's going to end the dream of Zionism by being too militarily aggressive. Now, I would say this. I don't know that that's possible under this administration that's given them the Golan Heights region, okay? I don't know that he could be too military orientated for that type of administration and that type of dominance in the Middle East. We all know that he got indicted. We all know that there were supposed to be trials, that was going to be upheaval. We all even know that as the prime minister, that was contested. A lot of people think he lost that last election that happened, I think 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago. None of that's
like 2 months
discussed
ago.
in this country. Yeah. No one's even discussing that because we're so, ethnocentric and jingoistic here. If it's not happening in the US of A, we usually don't care. But we don't understand the inner workings of Israel and Saudi Arabia and that entire Eurasian region. Now, Saudi Arabia came out immediately and backed us in this Iran situation. Now Israel is slowly ramping it up. Do you think there's a possibility of a larger scale type false flag attack within the next couple months? Because I'm predicting this to escalate through the month of July, and then Bohemian Grove meets in 4 days, folks. July 10th to the 28th, there's going to be some big right-wing establishment players at that Grove talking policy, some big military-industrial complex guys. I think there's a good chance we see something happen in late July, early August, and there's a possible large-scale military conflict in that region in August. Am I nutso?
I worry about that too. I worry that maybe a U.S. military base or an outpost that we have somewhere, I really hope it's not a civilian attack like here in the homeland. That would be pretty difficult to pull off, and it would be pretty hard to conceal who was really behind it. But I do know that much like 9/11 was a huge media spectacle, and it was a big theatrical event. That's what whips Americans, docile Americans, for the most part, who don't want war. That's what whips them into a war frenzy and makes them turn into raving maniacs who are out for blood and who want to get back at the people who did this and who attacked us without even having any evidence, without even having a trial, without even bringing suspects forward. So I do worry about that, and I hope it doesn't happen. But I think if we can still continue to have conversations about it, and if Trump can somehow hold the line, the song by Toto, hold the line, Iran attack isn't on time. We can avoid it, because I think at Trump's core, man, he doesn't want something like this to happen, and he knows the impacts and the outcome would be disastrous, and also would harm his chances at being reelected. So there's that could maybe be pulling him in a direction away from friction. The fact that he wants to get reelected, and knowing that would be very unpopular and would play into his opponent's hands, saying, "Oh, he said he was going to stop war. He said he wasn't going to be more of the same. Well, look, he's more of the same." So I'm hopeful it doesn't happen, man. But I'm also pretty worried. There's a part of me that's pretty worried that they might try some shit. And you mentioned Ehud Barak, the same guy who went on BBC World the morning of 9/11 pushing for this global and ubiquitous war on terror, that America needs to be the tip of the spear now. So when I hear someone like him saying Netanyahu's gone too far, that worries me, man.
It's very frightening. It's not like that guy's a peacenik, Like,
No,
he's not.
no.
He's absolutely not. But then again, when you have somebody like Netanyahu who continues to expand the settlements and say things like, you know what, Israel, it's not for everybody. It's an ethno-state. It's not for everybody. It's just like, what the fuck? When you can outwardly say that your state is an ethno-state that's not for everybody, you got a problem. I mean, again, I'm all for live and let live. I don't like to get into people's religious beliefs. But when those beliefs are then enacted by a very heavy-scale military-industrial complex that seems to have the one-up on just about every second and third world nation, especially in that region, it's frightening, man. It's super frightening. People look at this stuff like, they're not lives that matter to me because I don't know that person. And we don't talk about, the 4,000 or 5,000 soldiers that have died in Afghanistan. We haven't talked about the soldiers that have died in Iraq because it's been so long, and it's been a minimal loss of life compared to other conflicts we had in shorter periods of time, like Vietnam. But at the same time, we've just been conditioned to accept that. Well, I'll tell
That's
you
right.
right now, folks, no matter how many smart bombs, no matter how much shock and awe, no matter how many private military groups get deals in Iran, it will be by far the largest loss of American life if we military interact with them. 100%. 100% guarantee. There is no other way to do it. And remember, this is something we were told about by Wesley Clark shortly after 9/11 as really the diamond that they needed, that they wanted so badly. And with Israel talking about this for the last 20 plus years, I am hoping that Tulsi at least gets into that top 5 ring and is seriously considered. So guys, if you haven't already, now's the time to go over to Tulsi2020.com and make that small donation. Again, she's not perfect. I get it. She's CFR. She's talked about torture working. She's talked about 9/11 being an Al-Qaeda operation, Al-Qaeda. She hasn't talked about the truth there. It is a little bit concerning. She's only talked about the regime change wars as the ones we need to get out. But is she 10, 20, 30, 100 times better than anybody she's on the stage with right now? Yes. Out of the other 19 plus candidates, it's hands down Tulsi Gabbard. And, I want to see the Tulsi Trump debates. I think that opens up a larger conversation and only helps people. Whether I vote for Trump or Tulsi Gabbard, I might vote for neither. It may be one of those things where I vote third party again because I have to vote my conscience. I felt like this time around I had to vote Trump because I had to vote my conscience. And I saw the media attacking him. I saw what he was saying about getting out of wars. I'm in a very, very Democratic state in New York. I had no illusions that he was going to win New York. But
Right.
I said, you know what? He's going to get my vote this time around. I'm not so sure. I may be voting Libertarian or Green Party or Independent this year. I can't guarantee it. But I can tell you right now, I'm going to vote my heart. I'm going to talk the truth about all these candidates, warts and all. But you have to give people credit when they say and do the right thing. Mr. Jackman, I'm going to let you wrap it up on a Tulsi 2020 spiel and let the people know why they need to vote Tulsi and where they can find you and your brother's great work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Jason. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to make the case and come into the space. And, I know people in the truth community, the libertarians, Greens, progressives, socialists, there's all something in Tulsi's platform that speaks to them and that they respond to and they agree with. And we're never going to find a perfect candidate. We're never going to have someone who's saying all the things we want to hear unless it's up there on that podium, on the debate stage. So I just believe that Tulsi is the most genuine. She has the American people's interests in mind. And she's not going to let someone like Donald Trump push her around. She's not worried about Donald Trump. I wouldn't have the balls to go over to Iraq for a year. She went over there and did that shit. And I tip my hat to her for that. I obviously don't agree with the war. I was speaking out against it when I was a 16-year-old high school kid. And obviously her life experiences and how the prison in which she viewed the Iraq conflict was different than mine. And hey, I respect that. She evolved on the issue and realized that it was wrong, and then came back after serving in it and has spoken out against it very passionately and very articulately. So I feel like having someone of our age generation, a millennial, she's 38 years old, she's more connected to the pulse of the American people, the real working people who get up every day and work a job and grind it out and scrape to pay their bills. She understands that. She doesn't come from a lot of money. She doesn't come from a privileged background like Trump, who had everything handed to him, who had servants and had wait staff and this and that. And look, this isn't about bashing Trump. There's a lot that I love about Trump. He's very entertaining. I've had a great 3-year career as a professional Trump impersonator. I can't bite the hand that feeds me, and there's a lot about him that I really like. I love that he decimated Jeb Bush. I love that he beat the Clintons. But at the end of the day, as we know, Jason, it's a big club, and we're not in it, and they're really all buddies behind the scenes. And I just feel like if these ideas and messages are going to keep progressing and being pushed forward in a national dialogue, Tulsi Gabbard's the only one who's talking about it. She's not in the debate. You might as well go third party. You might as well not vote. I will say I'm very encouraged about Justin Amash leaving the Republican Party. To me, that points towards him running as a libertarian for president. I think that's going to happen, and I think that would be great. He's kind of a young Ron Paul, and I admire him greatly. So Tulsi2020.com, and please donate if you can. And then my stuff is over at YouTube. Please go over to Jackman Radio on YouTube and click subscribe. On Twitter, my handle is there, Jackman Radio. I'm on Instagram as Senator Jackman _ and shoot me a comment, shoot me a message, shoot me some questions you'd like asked of presidential candidates. I'm going to be meeting a whole bunch of them coming up here in the coming weeks. And, I'm working really hard with my twin brother to build up our page and get more views, get more likes, get more subscribers so we can continue to do these interviews. And we have a Patreon page, patreon.com/Jackman Radio. Whatever you could give, we'd love your help. And, I really appreciate the opportunity here to talk to you, Jason, and we're just going to keep at it. I'm going to see Tulsi tomorrow, so I'll send her, your best from everyone to her tomorrow.
Well, thank you so much. And folks, over on this page, we're doing 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 videos a day. I have a goal of doing 10 videos a day. I know that sounds insane, but I'm really trying to do it. The last couple days, I've only been able to put out 2. It's because it's been sweltering hot in this office. And I literally went and I picked up the lowest wattage AC unit I could because I have an old house and my fuse box blows, and I tried to put like one of the actual industrial units in this place because it gets well over 100 years. I got 4 monitors going. I got a big hardcore PC. I got 4 lights on me. I got a couple of boards, yada, yada, yada. But we're doing it big. Hopefully you didn't hear the AC in the background. It's nice and cool in here. I'm not all sweaty and greasy. Please subscribe. We hit 23K this week, on the road to 30K. When we hit 25K, we're going to be doing another AMA. We've actually got Dylan Avery coming back up on Sunday, doing another AMA-style broadcast. That's been really fun. And I'm all on my own, all by my lonesome now for the last almost month. We've been doing a GoFundMe for 19 days, and I'm very happy to say that in 19 days, we are about 2/3 of the way there. So 2/3 of the way there. We're almost at that $5,000 goal. We're almost at $3,000 with 11 more days to go. I'm going to be doing this every single month, and you continue to support me every single month. I'm not gonna promise you a handy. We're not going to have a Skype session. It's none of that. I'm going to put out 30 to 50 hardcore, real videos about real issues. And get ready to buckle up today, because we're going to be doing several different deep dives into some of those Epstein documents that have finally been unsealed and released to the public. And there's some juicy bits in there. I wish there were some juicier bits, but believe me, I haven't been able to read all of them. I spent a long time yesterday going through this. So if you want to support me, the GoFundMe is the way to do it. Otherwise, just share my stuff, man. I give everything away for free for a reason. If you go into my videos or my playlists, every single one of my documentaries is there. From Shade the Motion Picture to Invisible Empire to Fabled Enemies to Loose Change Final Cut, because it's always been about sharing this information with others. That's how you support me. You can't support me financially? I get it. I totally get it. Help me grow this channel. Once we hit 30K and we can have members and sell merchandise, get ready for some cool Burmese Brigade t-shirts. I already got them on lock. We'll have all that stuff, and you can support me that way too. But by supporting other great independent media like Jackman Radio, Mike and Eric, like James Corbett, like Dan Dix, like Luke Radowski, well, you put your voice out there and say, I'm sick of the Anderson Cooper, Sean Hannity, mainstream machine of bullshit. So that's why this is important. That's why I'm going to be here all day before an awesome UFC this evening. I know you're watching out there, fans. I can't wait. And, there's time for fun. I hope everybody had a great barbecue, spent some time with their family this week. I know I did. I did some fireworks and had some good times with the girls. But you can't have those things without keeping up what's really going on in the world with our politicians, our corporations, and, even our media leaders. I hate the term influencer. I fucking hate it. But by getting out and giving those people an idea of what we not want, but demand from our constitutional republic, we have a much, much better chance of maintaining those very important things of spending time with our family, having free speech, having an economy that works for the middle class and those that are willing to work 40 to 60 hours a week, having an economy that doesn't say, you know what, we want to send your 18-year-old kid over to a desert to shoot some brown people on behalf of this globalist agenda. No. So once again, get at Mike and Eric Jackman. Politics and Pints, guys. If you haven't seen the Tulsi Gabbard, if you haven't seen the Andrew Yang, what are some of the other highlights there, Mr. Jackman?
Yeah, so like I said, the Crystal Lady, Marianne Williamson, we sat down with her and we had a great chat with her. She's a lot of fun, and she's kind of spiritual, like Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood Mac, kind of hooey. I'm Oprah's guru, but really enjoyed her. And I will say I'm going to be meeting Pocahontas on Monday. I don't have an interview with her, but I'm going to meet her and see what I can ask her and see what I can get out of that. I'm going to see Tulsi tomorrow, and then Friday of this upcoming week. Beto O'Rourke is coming to my street. He's doing an event on my street. So I'm going to see what I can do there. But yeah, Mike and I are working on lining up more interviews with candidates. We're talking to campaigns, some surprises, some cool names, some other people in the media that I don't want to say. I don't want to name names yet. Great people coming, Jason.
So listen,
and
I just want to say this. If you do get to talk to Robert, a.k.a. Beto, please ask him about his hacking days and the fact that and the fact that he's probably just an FBI informant. Like, come on, dude. You don't get away with being part of a large-scale hacking collective and then all of a sudden become a congressman that's being pushed as a senator and now a presidential candidate. He's as compromised an establishment as it gets, and it started when he was Robert O'Rourke in a large-scale hacking group. You heard it here first, folks. Jackman's going to ask him on camera. He just promised me. There's the thumbs up.
Hey, if I can get a camera or someone lined up to film it for me, I will. But
right.
yeah, send me some more info on that, Burmis. I need to do a little more homework into that. I know he was part of an hacktivist.
I think it's like the cow, the
collective.
cult of the dead cow, or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it does have cult in the word, but again, they can't sell that guy. He looked like a pale, dying school child up there when he was first asked. He looked like he didn't know what he was going to do, so he spoke some Spanish. That's how you get elected. It's not how you get elected.
He's fucking horrible. I need a table. Someone get me a table to stand on. I'm going to flail my arms around. Ted Cruz sucks. Vote for me. Yeah, look, we got Bohemian Grove coming up, Jason. Kissinger's going to be up there. All the elite maggots and the scum. I mean, where's my invite, man? I want to go to Bohemian Grove. What the hell, Would you go, Jason, if you got an invite with Bob Weir?
Oh, would I go to the Grove? Man, I'll tell you what. If before they let me in, the person that invited me was willing to do a live stream sit down and like an AMA style broadcast for an hour before I even set foot in there, maybe I'd do it. It's a little bit different than like a Bilderberg policy meeting where you're with 140 because there's 3,000. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of comings and goings and encampments, but there's no doubt that there's policy being set there. I think it would be a lot easier to camouflage that policy amongst 3,000 and all the encampments and like the plays and all that other stuff, where it would be a lot harder if I was sitting at a Bilderberg meeting and watching these people give their presentations and their talking points, where you're not going to get that at the Grove. So I don't know. I'm not really a bathhouse Billy. I mean, I don't know that I can do that. I would go there, but I wouldn't. I'm not going to say outright no. I like talking to people, and I think conversations are a good thing. So under the right conditions, possibly. I don't think I'd be holding any rituals there or doing anything that say, turned up in books like the Franklin scandal here. Allegations Jesus. In the Bohemian Grove. I'm just saying.
Oh, look, I want to go to Bohemian Grove, and I'm going to go with my friend Caitlyn Jenner, and we're going to wear matching dresses, Ivanka's dress line, Bohemian Grove 2019 series. It'll be so beautiful. Henry Kissinger will be there, all the great people, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But Trump's probably not going, right?
You know what? I wouldn't doubt it. I actually, when I was talking to Corbett, I thought to myself, you know what? Let's see if Trump has anything in Northern California in between July 10th and the 28th, and if he disappears from the press, because I would not put it past Trump to say go to one of these things 2 weeks in. It goes a little more than 2 weeks or maybe a week and a half in, depending on who's going to be there. If Trump doesn't go, mark my words, a Kushner, a Pompeo, or a Bolton will definitely be there to talk to some of these players. I 100% believe that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'll be looking at those schedules. Guys, stay tuned because, again, we're going to go deep on that Epstein. Probably about 30, 40 minutes is going to be the first one. We're going to go through some of the Dershowitz testimony. Some of the bombshells that you're going to be able to read on screen is that Dershowitz says that he was introduced to Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein in the late 90s through Lady Rothschild. He claims to have seen Donald Trump at the home of Jeffrey Epstein and much much more. And these are just pieces. I haven't even gotten all the I don't have all the documents. I need more documents. I need them all
folks.
and a bowl of chili. And that's how we're going to do this. We're going to deep dive into the chili bowl and talk about America. Guys, thank you so much. Mr. Jackman, thank you so much. I'm going to catch you on the flip side today.
Keep on rocking.